uninterruptible power supply. Oh, now the dog's chasing flies. Sit, or lay down, lay down, lay down, sit. If you don't have solar power, battery banks, German Shepherd wandering around in front of the camera, all these kinds of things, then... Hi guys, let's talk about power outages. I did a little teaser video to this one, and I'm trying to keep it a little bit lighthearted because I keep being barraged every time I'm on Facebook or YouTube or whatever with these advertisements for these solar generators, and I don't need a solar generator per se. I guess it would be nice to have something to travel with, but I've been living off grid 3 years 100%. No connection to the grid whatsoever. And before that, I would do really long stints in the RV in different parts of the country, like Quartzsite, Arizona, where I would go for 6 months and stay out in the desert on the BLM land. And you know, I've learned how to live off grid really well. That said, the federal government and utility companies all over the United States are now starting to talk about, tell their customers and tell people that they need to expect rolling blackouts. Texas is already doing this. Michigan just shut down a nuclear power plant. Right now, as I'm speaking, I think that people in Columbus, Ohio are on day number 4 and of power outage. And I understand that was partially due to a storm and partially due to the fact that the grid got overloaded because it's hot. It's 100 degrees there, and they were having to shut down sections of the grid. That's what they do when they have these rolling blackouts, is shut down sections of the grid. And I think the idea is to kind of make people take turns going without power, because there's too much power being drawn off the whole grid to sustain it all. And if they didn't shut down sections, it would blow a main transformer. It would cause a lot more damage and it would be out for a lot longer. So they're planning these rolling power outages all over the country. When it's hot like that, obviously your power goes out, and depending on how long it's out, the food in your refrigerator could spoil. That said, with the price of food skyrocketing, then you see the problem there. In my previous video, I challenged anyone that saw it to comment below how much money they would lose if the refrigerator went out. And how much money would you lose if your refrigerator started going out once a week or once every 2 weeks? If these rolling outages are going to be the new normal, at least for this summer, and who knows. That said, I have an option for those of you that cannot afford a solar generator that could run your refrigerator. And it's much cheaper than these solar generators. They sound really great, and then you go onto their website and you find out they're, starting at $2,500 and going up, depending on the accessories and the amount of solar panels that you add to them, and this, that, and the other thing. So this is not a solar generator. It would not be an easy thing for a do-it-yourselfer to make it a solar generator, although you could. You could add solar panels to it and a charge converter to do this. But what I'm talking about, no further ado, what I'm talking about is a UPS. Maybe you could get a UPS for free, so stay tuned. I will talk about that. But let's just talk about the UPS itself as it stands. If you were to buy one, the idea of a UPS, if you don't know, it's called an uninterruptible power supply. They generally provide 15 minutes, give or take, to your computer. And the idea is that if your power goes out, your computer will still keep working. You'll get an alert on your UPS. It'll give a tone out generally. And then you say, oh, okay, so I'm going to save my work on the computer and then shut my computer off so it doesn't crash and I lose everything. Maybe you're printing something. So these UPSs have several power ports on the back of them, and they come in different sizes. The example I'm going to give for you to buy is one I just found on Amazon. And right now, I think it's Amazon Prime Day, so if you don't see this video the first day, it may go up some. So I think it's marked down $20, but it's like $179, 170 something. Um, I'll put a screen cap up here for you. $179 for this UPS, and it is a 1500 VA, which means it has 1500 watt hours of storage, which isn't much. But that's all about the batteries, and it can deliver up to 900 watts. So it's should be capable of running a refrigerator, a full-size refrigerator. I've tried this on a mini fridge and it works just fine, but I haven't got a full-size refrigerator to test this on because I live in an RV. I don't have a full-size refrigerator. I shot some video and I'm going to just voice over that because I'm not happy with the audio. My charge controllers on my off-grid system were making a lot of noise in the background and fans blowing, and so I'll just voice over that and show you guys what I'm talking about.
So the model of UPS that I have is different than the one that I've just shown you guys on Amazon. I ended up getting this one free. It's a 1000 VA. Smaller batteries than the one on Amazon, and you can see the output on this 1000 watt unit is actually 600 watts. So this is the one I'm going to be testing. So one of the first things you guys will notice when you pick up a UPS is they're heavy. Part of the reason they're heavy is that they have a couple of lead acid batteries inside them. But another reason they're heavy is because a lot of people don't realize that a UPS is a very high quality pure sine wave inverter. These things are designed to operate a computer. They're a low frequency inverter with a really big heavy transformer. So this particular UPS and a lot of other ones will have some parameters that you can look at to see what's going on with the unit. With this unit, you can see at the top there's a load gauge which is empty, and then below that it shows a full battery, and the particular number display on the bottom at this point is how many minutes of runtime it has left, which that isn't correct. It thinks it's got full batteries, but the batteries inside it aren't any good, and I will show you that a little bit more later. This just shows the wattage draw, and you can see there's no watts being drawn because right now there's nothing plugged into it. Again, you've got amperage draw, you've got voltage, different parameters on here you can look at it. The one you get may or may not have this much information on it, or may have more. Now right now, without anything plugged into this unit, and this unit having power from the receptacle, all it's doing is keeping the battery charged and rerouting the power that comes into it straight out of the back to those receptacles, which what we're talking about is you're going to have your refrigerator or your freezer plugged into, maybe a light or something like that, depending on what you want to use it for. Another thing to note, depending on the type of unit you end up getting, how you get to the inside of the unit may be different. The batteries may be in the back, they may be in the front. You may have to pull a cover off, you may have to pull the top shell off, but generally these UPS units are made so you can get in and replace the batteries. The unit will generally outlast the batteries by quite a bit. On this particular unit, you got to pop the front faceplate off, and then there's a couple screws that pull an inner metal housing off, and then the batteries are behind that. So we speed things up a little bit here and pop this front cover off, and you see the batteries that are inside. Now these kinds of batteries are typical for commercial fire alarm systems, burglar alarm systems, and like power wheels, the little toys that the tots ride around in. And as I mentioned earlier, these batteries will not power anything substantial for very long at all. They're made to give you time to turn your computer off when they are new and good. So plan on getting rid of these. So in the unit here, we see a red wire, which is your positive terminal. And you'll see a jumper with a fuse tying the two batteries together. That's right there in the middle. And that is tying the negative of the first battery to the positive of the second battery. And then the second battery has a negative wire going to the unit. So these two 12-volt batteries, wired in series as they are, make a 24-volt system. And that's going to be important when you replace these with larger batteries. So here you can see that I have the spade terminals cut off. I've got some butt crimp connectors, and I've added about 3 feet of 10-gauge wire to this because obviously my battery bank is much too large to go back in that hole. So we are extending the wires outside of the unit. In this case, I haven't got a hole drilled in it at this point, so I've just added 3 feet so I could get long enough to attach my jumper cables from my 700 amp 24 volt battery bank for my home to this unit. So it's getting 24 volts to it, and then the size of the battery bank you add to it is not going to make it run bigger devices. It's just going to make it run the devices that it will run for a longer time. And we turn the power off. So now the UPS will be providing power to the refrigerator from the battery bank that it's connected to. Now you can see here the initial 4.4 amp load that this 110 watt mini fridge is putting on this unit. Then it drops down to 2.2 and then finally settles pulling a half an amp. So the little UPS that had no problem with the 506 watt initial surge of that inductive load and settled into a nice half an amp. So that's what, about 57 watts of draw. And the refrigerator hasn't been plugged in at all, so it's 90 degrees inside. So it's running as hard as it can to try to cool it off. And once that initial surge happens, it's only pulling 57 watts. So it's a pretty efficient little refrigerator. All right, guys, one final test. So again, I've got the jumper cables hooked up to my little power lead extensions. Normally you would just want to add some ring terminals on these two wires and just hook it to your battery bank, but I don't have a sacrificial battery bank to hook up to this other than mine. As you can see that we are plugged in. We have no load, full batteries, voltage is good. So what I want to do is move into the area of, I'm going to watts. So we got 0 watts of load on it now. Now I've got this little micro shop vac in here, and this thing is rated at 6 amps, 120 volts. So at 115 it'll pull a little more than 6 amps, which I think adds up to about 720 watts. I'm hooked up to my battery bank via jumper cables, and I've got the little shop vac plugged in down here. And so we're going to go over here and turn off the power to the inverter. So now we're in battery mode, and we will see what happens. It blew out. what we've learned here is that this unit will handle about 130% for 3 to 5 seconds, which should be plenty to start a refrigerator that is rated at less than the rated wattage of this unit. So some questions I'm not able to answer with this video is, what is the maximum wattage that this thing will do on a surge? I really can't answer that question without destroying it, and I don't want to destroy it. It might do 2,000 watts on a surge for 1 or 2 seconds. I don't know what surge rating wattage is on a Jackery or other types of units, so I can't really compare. I can't compare apples to oranges. What I can say is that if you add a battery bank to this, and you could even get a couple of car batteries from Napa, a couple 12-volt car batteries, put them in series like I demonstrated earlier, and you would have something. It could keep you going if you can't afford a Jackery. When you're talking about $174, is it the same as a solar power generator? No, it's not. But it may be an option for you if you're on a budget and are concerned about something like this. Let's talk about the battery that we're going to be using with this, or at least the battery I recommend. If you find another battery that you like better, by all means, buy that one. This one I will link in the description below. It is an affiliate link. These batteries have been reviewed by a couple of pretty big lithium battery experts on YouTube. One is called Lithium Solar. He did a review on these where he cut them apart and tested them. And another one is Will Prowse. So if you know either of those two names, you know that they both are pretty highly esteemed as far as lithium and solar and battery power and stuff. Both those guys had a lot of good things to say about these batteries. The only bad thing about this Losigi battery is they don't have freeze protection built into them, but if you're using it indoors, it's probably not going to be an issue for you. The price on these is excellent. The quality is excellent. I've installed a lot of these. I do off-grid solar installations for customers, and I've installed a lot of these batteries, and I use them myself. They're really good batteries. This is a 24 volt 100 amp. If you happen to get a UPS that is 12 volt, then you would want the 12.8 volt 100 amp battery. And you could go a 200 or 300 amp lithium battery too if you really want some extended time on this unit. And lastly but not leastly, I did promise you guys at the beginning of the video that I would tell you how you might be able to get one of these UPS units for free. And the reality is that I got this one from a university. But any place that has a lot of office space with computers, schools, public schools, universities, public buildings like, I don't know, courthouses or something like that. Any place that has computers that they need to make sure that they can save their sensitive information, you might be able to find these. And a lot of, especially in a lot of states, because this is electronic waste, they can't throw it away. Probably most every state. And ultimately, they generally end up having to pay someone to come and pick up their electronic waste. Secondly, most of these IT departments end up being staffed by coders. These guys are keyboard warriors, so they don't necessarily know how to crimp ring terminals on wires and use ohm meter and things like that. So most of the time, I found like 3 of these, and all 3 of them, the only thing wrong with them was the batteries inside were bad. So they throw them out. Instead of opening up and getting inside and replacing the batteries, a lot of these big companies just throw the whole thing away. They put it in their electronic recycling. So if you can reach out to some place like that, you can get a working unit, and generally you're saving them money because they have to pay by the pound to get rid of these things. And it's a 40 or 50 pound unit, so you might be able to get them for free. I know I did. That said, guys, that is the end of this video. Questions, comments, concerns. Hopefully I explained this well enough so your average DIY person can use one of these, and maybe it will save your bacon if you end up being in one of those places that's going to apparently have these continued extended power outages rolling. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, do the deal. I'm out of here.